Welcome, my friends, to the Black Diamond for Monday, October 3rd, 2016. John Lavenia here, calling in live from Salt Lake City, Utah. Excited about what we're going to be talking about tonight, and also excited to get to meet all of you in, less than 21 days, so 21 minus 3, 18 days. We're getting together in sunny Las Vegas, Nevada for our first ever Marketing Mastery event here inside Digital Altitude. As you've probably seen, and I'll make sure that everybody, including our new members, knows this. As you've probably seen, if you've been around here a little bit, our VIP tickets are sold out. However, we do have a very dwindling number of Sherpa tickets that are still available. So go into your Digital Altitude back office if you have not already secured your spot and grab a ticket to this legendary event that is coming up here in 18 days. I will be there, as will so many of the people that you're meeting here on these calls each day. And that being said, this call, the Black Diamond that we do each Monday, is a bit different than some of the other calls in the way that this call is never pre-planned or pre-scripted or premeditated. It's all very street, very off the cuff. Sometimes it's in your face, and we just like to bring out new members. Not necessarily new members, although they may be new members here inside Digital Altitude, because Digital Altitude itself is rather new in the marketplace, but people who have reached the top, people who have reached expert status, hence the title Black Diamond, which of course is, for any of our skiers and snowboarders, you know that is an expert level experience. So here we're going to hear from each week a different top performer in their chosen field, and of course the field that we are in is top tier direct sales. So you get to hear from the top of the top here on this call, a different personality each week, including myself. You get to hear from me each week. So you're going to hear about our opinions on stuff, how we operate our businesses, what makes us tick, and what value we think we can bring for especially the brand new member, who I've often said is the most important person in the company, because you are the future. So if you're here brand new, you've never been on a Black Diamond call before, the rules are take what you like and leave the rest, just like it's a buffet. Okay, take what you like and leave the rest. See how these ideas apply into your life and into your business, and please take them and use them. As entertaining as we like to believe that we are, it's much more valuable to actually use the information. And of course, if myself or my co-host says anything that offends you, you'll get over it. That's how we roll. So that being said, tonight we're talking about leveraging success. We're talking about scaling up. We're talking about getting bigger and more powerful and more influential in the marketplace as you deliberately build your business, which is what you signed up here to do. Now, I'm thinking about something that I wrote, in fact, a lot of things that I wrote, back when I wrote my first book, which has been some years ago, where people were asking me for my secrets, you see, because I had become a top earner in my chosen company, and I was doing this for years, and I had been very successful, and having brought in millions of dollars in sales and worked with thousands of people around the world, it got to the point where a lot of people started asking me for my secrets. And after hearing these questions for a while, I got inspired. I got inspired to write a book, to make sure that all my secrets were down on paper for all the world to see. Because I found that a lot of the people who were certainly exposed to the same kind of data, the same events, right? Like we've got big events here in Digital Altitude, Ascend, Peak, Apex, right? Even our Marketing Mastery event coming up in Las Vegas. A lot of people were exposed to the same data, the same books, the same events that I were. However, our results were different, and in some cases vastly different. Now, there were other people who became top leaders and top earners in their own right. And those were not the people who were typically asking me for my secrets. The people who were asking me for my secrets were people that in some cases, they thought, first of all, they thought there was secrets. They thought perhaps there was something that I may have been withholding. There was something special about this guy, John. Now, immediately when that thought process happens, there's a bit of a pedestal that's set up, which I've implored people, please, don't put me or other top earners on a pedestal. Okay, and I wrote about this in the book. I wrote that the main difference that I've identified between top earners and people who have not yet acquired such a status is that we've had integrity to the data, to the information, to the things that we signed up to do. In other words, I signed up to be a marketer in this marketing program. And I chose to man that post. I chose to the fullest extent that I could and to the best of my ability, and learning all I could and executing as quickly and efficiently as possible. I chose to do what I signed up to do. Yes, I am here to be a marketer. And for as long as I had integrity consistently to that vision, to that idea, to that task, which nobody held a gun to my head. That's what I signed up to do. For as long as I did that, I became more and more powerful. The more consistent I was, the more effective I was, the more influence I had in the marketplace, and I was actually scaling up on my own success. Now, I didn't start that way, right? I started like everybody starts. On day one, here I was, in my case, working a job, and I don't know what to do. And fortunately for me, despite the fact that there was no coaching platform or no, Aspire steps or anything that we enjoy here in Digital Altitude, it was very loose. It was kind of a free-for-all back then, back in the Stone Age when I got started. But despite all that, I was very fortunate to find people who did know what they were doing and who were willing to teach. And these also were people who had integrity to not only the vision, but the tasks that they had signed up to do. So I could simply model what they were doing. And the people that I sought, and I've told this story several times, the people who I sought to model them, and I sought to find out what they were doing, how they were scaling up their business and their success. These were people making more money than was even my goal at the time. Okay, so I was able to model people who were making exponentially more money than I was, and I was able to shorten the learning curve by simply having integrity to what they showed me to do. Was it comfortable? No, it wasn't comfortable. After all, I was starting from the position that I was in, right? You don't know what you don't know. But now what we've got here with Digital Altitude, a systemized and streamlined approach to this whole industry, this whole top-tier direct sales industry, which changed my life all those years ago. And my friends, I've never had to go back to a job, right? This is a very, very big thing. Once you get it, because you've got the willingness to get it and apply yourself to whatever degree you must to cause yourself to be one of those influential people in the marketplace and to cause yourself to, in many cases, earn more money in a month than most people earn in a year. And that's where you can go with this. So to help us with this topic tonight, I've got a guy who I've gotten to know over the last couple months who's been around this industry as well. And in fact, you've gotten to know him on our Friday Inside Digital Altitude calls. Here's the guy who manages that whole operation and causes this whole community to come together each week on Friday mornings, where we get to hear from seasoned veterans as well as new members alike what's going on, what's working in your business, and share the message of Digital Altitude with our members, our new members, and our guests each week on Friday. And that is, of course, Ryan Thomas. Ryan, welcome to the call. How are you, my friend?
I'm so good. So glad to be here.
Fantastic. It's great to have you on a Black Diamond call. Usually we're together out there on Friday mornings and, managing the crowd and all this. Now it's just you and me and, of course, all of our listeners. And I think people are excited to hear about what makes you tick and how you scaled up your business to the point where you're this leader among leaders here. So it's all yours.
It's all mine. Well, it's all ours, right? I mean, that's it's a little bit different being on a Black Diamond call, right? Normally, I'm so privileged to be that voice that allows to facilitate your stories, the stories of our members. And so it is a little bit different to have the microphone turned around on me and for the spotlight to be on me a little bit. So for those of you who are nervous, if we're in a group here, you raise your hand if you get nervous speaking in public. And I'm sure everyone's hands will go up. It's the most common fear. For those of you who haven't heard that statistic, more people are afraid of public speaking than they are of death. It's literally the most feared thing in the world. And so I just want to give a shout out to all of you who do step up and are willing and brave enough to share your success on our Inside Digital Altitude calls on Fridays, because it is those stories, and those stories of everybody from the people who are just coming in and just finally getting their first tiptoe into the idea that, wow, I can be my own boss. Wow, I can do this. Can I do this? Can I really do this? To the people who are saying, I was here 4 months ago, and look, the call we had on last Friday, gentleman is in here for 4 months, is doing multiple 5 figures, in a short amount of time. It's a very short amount of time to get up and get going. And those kinds of things are possible when you learn, when you are willing and able to see success and then leverage it. So I guess that would be, you kind of, this is kind of a forum. And so I guess if I were to have to share, kind of off the cuff, like what was it that allowed me to leverage up to the point to where now, and I guess it might be helpful for those of you who haven't had a chance to I guess not a lot of people here necessarily know me, so maybe it might help if I shared a little bit about my background. I actually started off as a college counselor, believe it or not, of all things. I was a college counselor. And I was a college counselor, and at the same time, most people don't necessarily know this, I was also had one foot in the streets of being a homeless teenager because I enjoyed, in case you can't tell, I'm a natural-born salesman, and I've always enjoyed the freedom that salesmanship has afforded me in the world, even when I was living on my backpack in a skateboard, traveling around. And so I literally used professional, I had the hardest time as a youth seeing myself be successful. So if we're talking about starting from the bottom, talk about starting from a place where I was of not even seeing myself someone who was even capable of having a job, somebody who was even capable of worthy of existing. I only saw myself as only being worth this. And I changed that from that, and I used this same process that I hope, if there's any one thing I guess I could expound to you tonight, is that you can sell yourself on creating happiness, joy, success, income, money, purpose, fulfillment. You can sell yourself on overcoming bad habits. You can sell yourself on overcoming anything that's holding you back, any negative emotion, anything that's holding you back from succeeding in the past. You can sell yourself out of that. You can sell yourself on doing what it takes, and that's effectively what I did. And I learned to leverage every sale. Every time I sold myself on spending another day selling door-to-door instead of going back to panhandling was a victory that I celebrated. Every time I sold myself on doing something that I didn't want to do is kind of what it was, a success that I could document. And that was really what it came down to. I realized that my thinking was so off that I had to learn to sell myself on all the good things that I do. I had to learn to sell myself on doing small things that I didn't want to do so I could create successes. So think about you guys, and you're doing your steps through the Aspire system. You come in and you do a step. Celebrate the fact that you did that step. Take some time to give yourself a pat on the back for doing something that the average person isn't going to do. The average person out there who's complaining about their lifestyle, they didn't sell themselves on the idea of giving it a shot the way that you did here. You sold yourself. Something about Michael Force, about this program drew you, and you sold yourself on that. And so as you're starting to go through the steps, it's no wonder that doubt is going to creep back in. There's just no doubt. Like, it's going to happen. Doubts, fears of failure. You know how many times that I wanted just to give up and go back to panhandling and being a Dharma bum in the world, going from city to city, because it was so much easier. But I was able to, because with every sale, I was able to see myself in a better light, to the point where literally I sold myself into the idea of being a college counselor. And I started off with this online university in 2000, 2001, and early on in the days when online education wasn't really respected the way it is, as much as it is now it's prolific. Now it's everywhere. But back then it wasn't. And so I had to sell people on the idea of taking information and applying it, leveraging it, creating that for themselves. And you wouldn't believe, I don't know if I've even told this story to you in full, John, but, I used to come home from a shirt and tie, playing Mr. College Counselor, advising people on their careers, their futures, what was the best way for them to make money while finding purpose in life. That's really what I was doing all day long. I was coming home from that, pretending to be this professional person, throwing on raggedy clothes, grabbing a didgeridoo, that Aborigine Australian instrument that's all wah, 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 that thing, and grabbing on my skateboard, going down to the college campus area and hanging out with all the homeless kids and playing didgeridoo for spare change. Because my mindset was one foot in the street, I was using professional development to get my brain to see myself in a different light, because if I could sell myself on just showing up as a counselor one more day, if I could help one more person, then every person that I helped, I was helping myself. I was selling myself. Every time I sold them that they could become someone better, I was drilling that into my own brain, that I could continue to become someone better. And lo and behold, day after day, year after year, and I was there for years. I was there for, by the time I left there, when I was almost 30 years old, I had been there for about 8 years, so almost a decade, into my 30s at 28. And so at that point, I noted that I'd been there almost a third of my life as a college counselor and in that organization, growing this organization. I ended up getting a letter of recommendation from the CEO of this company, which is the largest educational conglomerate in the history of mankind. Very honored to have been a part of that leadership team to develop sales systems around how do we get people actually becoming adult students, which is why you could see why I was drawn to what Michael Force is doing here. Fantastic content, fantastic opportunity. And so if I could sell myself on doing that, and I could sell these students on doing that, I really was selling myself. Until next thing you know, I stopped showing up at the drum circles. I stopped showing up at the didgeridoo circles. I stopped showing up to panhandle in evenings. Next thing you know, I was clean and sober. I sold myself on getting clean and sober, which I'm celebrating for this coming up 14 years now. You know, so I've celebrated that. I found a wonderful woman. I sold myself on becoming the kind of person that a woman would want to marry. I ended up getting married. I'm coming up on my 14th. We just passed our 13th anniversary. You know, and you know, a beautiful saga, all because of leveraging success. But how do you get that success? You have to get that success by selling yourself on doing something you don't technically necessarily want to do, to create something greater. And sometimes that's selling your mind on the perception that you can be successful, you can do this. And that's really what each one of these steps in anybody that I'm coaching through these steps, that I'm really trying to impress upon them, is that every step is a chance for your brain to change and you to start learning how to identify success. And really, that's what I love step 3. Step 3 is really when everybody has like this big turning corner. It's almost like this rule, like if I can get them, if they get to 3, like there's no way that it can't be. If they get to 3, when they get to that step, you know, that mindset shift of all of a sudden starting to see things like an entrepreneur instead of an employee. You know, it's so huge for people, and that was so huge for me because check this out. Even after I left the university, while I was at the university in 2006, I got certified as a business and life coach because my students had said, Ryan, I got more from you than I did necessarily in the curriculum in some cases. You know, you're a great coach. I didn't even know what a coach was then. So I started doing some research, and in 2006, the beginning of 2006, and for 12 months, I financed $9,000, and I ended up spending far more than that over time with all the financing, but still 100% worth it to go through this intensive 12-month-long certification program. But what's amazing, absolutely amazing, is that even though I could sell myself into doing that, into affording it, making it happen, you know, doing all the travel required to go to the classes, the workshops on a regular basis, doing all the calls, doing all the coaching, at the end of it, that was in the end of 2006. It still took me 4 years before I was able to finally leave full-time employment working for someone else to become my own boss. That was in March of 2010. So I'm coming up on my 7th anniversary of being my own boss full-time. That to me is absolute success considering how many people, how many businesses fail in the first year, second year, third year, fourth year, 5th year. The 5 years is the general magic rule. Most businesses can't make it past that 5th year. So what has allowed me to remain nimble in a marketplace, to evolve and grow as an entrepreneur, is that ability. I'm very grateful that I have that. But you know what? The reality is I could have started in 2006. There was nothing I was missing, nothing that I was missing at all from taking that leap and becoming my own boss as soon as I got certified. Even before then, I could have done it. I had everything I needed. But the one thing I was missing was the belief that I had it in me. I still was thinking like an entrepreneur, like an employee. I was thinking I was being safe by building up an infrastructure and a clientele and doing these things necessary, right? Playing it safe, right? Playing it smart. That's the savvy thing to do. But I didn't realize until much later looking back that, wow, I was really sold by the idea that I wasn't enough, that I didn't have enough in me to make it happen. I needed a certification. I needed this. I needed that. It was always a constant thing of, well, once I have this, then I'll be good enough. Then I'll be ready. Then I'll be ready. And it took me 4 years to finally overcome that. And so to anyone here who's listening to this, who's new here, who's, you know, you won't have to spend 4 years and the insane amount of money and the insane amount of time that I had to spend just to become your own boss. And you can do it in a way that, 7 years, you can be celebrating your anniversary and be grateful because you've built real success along the way. And I'm actually, this is off the cuff, but I have acronyms that I use for my own self to help me measure what's important to me. And those things are wonderfully displayed in a lot of what we have here in Digital Altitude, which is one, real success to me comes down to relationships. Am I surrounding myself with people who want more? Am I surrounding myself with people who intimidate me? Am I surrounding myself with people who push me and inspire me to become the best? Not only in those higher business relationships, but also in my personal relationships. Was I able to sell my tired butt up off the couch to go help my wife with the dishes? Am I able to sell myself when I'm tired at the end of the day to put on that happy face and to go read a book to my boy for 15 minutes? Can I sell myself on doing it? And not just doing it, but can I sell myself on doing it with a good attitude, really enjoying the moment? That's a sales job. That's 100% a sales job. Can I sell myself on doing that? Because if I can, what you end up with is a certain amount of success, a certain amount of product. And if you take that product, then you can magnify it. And so that's the first thing is relationships. So I have a continually better relationship with my family because I'm investing in that on a daily basis. And so I constantly ask myself, as my own boss, what did I do to improve the quality of my relationships today? The next thing is experiences or expertise. They're actually the same word, believe it or not. They have the exact same Latin root, experi. So what did I do to create a good experience for the clients I was coaching, the businesses that I spent time with today? What kind of experience did I create for them? What kind of experiences did I create for, what kind of experience did I gain as a professional? Every day that I showed up to the job, every day that every conversation I had with every new student, with every new person, with every new business owner, with every new entrepreneur was an opportunity for me to have some kind of success and to take that success and ask how does that impact things for the better. And so then, so real estate, relationships, then experience, which leads into expertise. And that at the end of the day is really the core of success, learning what you're good at, figuring out what you're good at and you're good at and you enjoy doing. If you can do that, the world is yours. Digital Altitude can help you with the money. We can take care of all the sales for you. We'll take care of the support for you. We'll take care of all the customers for you, freeing you up to go figure out what it is that you want to do. You might find out that you actually enjoy coaching people too, and so you might end up getting to coach your own leads. That might be the case. You might find out that you really have a knack for, and you have an expertise for solo ads, for being able to find and get good solo ads running. You might find a particular traffic niche. You might be able to find that you have an expertise and a knack for doing joint venture relationships and introducing people on the high level. But how would you know that until you took the leap of faith to sell yourself on getting outside your comfort zone and signing up for something like this and coming to a 3-day event in Las Vegas where you can actually have access to new relationships, where you can meet new people, get entirely new perspectives on how people experience life and how they've developed their expertise. Until you do that, you really are limiting yourself. You only have your own experiences to go off of. That's why relationships are so powerful. They give us a whole new perspective of experiences to draw off of. I'm so grateful for the relationships that I've had. because of the experiences that they've given me, but also because of the experience that I've been able to gain and glean from their lives. And ultimately, those two things lead to the third thing, which is generally what probably brought you here in the first place, which is assets, right? Being able to make money, have real assets, have things that, money, real estate, have, have the list, have a following, whatever, you deem as your asset, that you can be building that. And that's one of the most important things that I guess I would really, and if there's any one tactical thing that is really important for people here, and that's when it comes to your assets and leveraging those, that you take Michael Force's advice in the videos and you reinvest your profits. When you go out there and you spend some money and you make a little money, you don't take that, you don't do what the average person do. What the employee mind is going to do is say, oh, awesome, I can go get that Xbox. Oh, cool, I can go take my family to dinner. I can go take my friends to dinner. I'm going to go out to the movies. I'm going to go do this. I'm going to go buy this. That's what the employee would do. An employee gets a bonus. An employee gets a little bit of extra spending money, and they look for ways that they can spend it. But an entrepreneur looks at that and says, I just spent $1,000 and I put $1,500 in my pocket. How can I spend $1,500 now so I can put a little bit more of my $2,200 in my pocket? Now I've got an extra $700. How am I going to take that and build that up and build that up and build that up? So this concept of compound, of reinvesting what you've been given, is very clear to understand when it comes to money. It's one of the harder things to do, mind you. It's one thing to do that, but it's really hard. I've been there. I know what it's like when, oh man, you all of a sudden have this big check. I've sold 5-figure domain names, and I get that check come in. It's like, oh man, I want to go spend that. And you have to step outside of that old employee or natural person's mindset and step back into that boss mindset, being your own boss, being that entrepreneur and saying, yeah, let's take some of that. Maybe you can budget a little bit of that to reinvest in the relationships. If your friends helped you to get there, if your family's what helped you to get there and you've got a little bit extra, I'm never going to tell you that you shouldn't, be able to repay kindness, to break bread with your fellow man. But I will say is it comes down to that general mindset of what are you doing with what you get when you get it. If you sold yourself enough to be on this phone call here, sell yourself enough to listen to this advice and reinvest your assets. And you can do that. It makes it easier to do that because the last component that we're talking about here to make that acronym complete, real wealth, is relationships, experience, assets, and lastly, my lifestyle. That has been the biggest thing for me, because what killed me being a boss or being an employee was kissing my little girl goodbye in the morning because she was asleep when I left, and kissing her goodnight in the evening because she was already asleep when I got home. Because I had to be a weekend daddy. Because I had to, and sometimes not even full weekends, because I had to just pull her out of her bed and just sleep with her next to me, with her head next to mine, so I could at least imagine our brain waves melding together and her dreaming about me at least. So even if she didn't see me there for the day, perhaps she can feel me now, even as she sleeps. So I could feel like I have some kind of relationship with my kid. From those long nights that I had those, that was what drove me. And so for 7 years, I have a boy who's 5 years old now. My oldest girl, she's 11, and so for half of her life, I've been there for her. I wasn't there for the first half, effectively. Thank heavens, her mom is a full-time mom, and that's the one promise I made to my wife when I quit my jobs, and was that my entrepreneurialism would have to pay for itself. She would never have to work to support us, that she could stay a full-time mom. And she's been a fantastic mom to them. I'm so grateful for her. But that's the point, is that I've been afforded the lifestyle that to be here when my kids get home from the school bus, to go on field trips with my kids, to help get them ready for school and to send them off, and to work my work hours around that, to be able to take time off and to go places when we need to take impromptu vacations to the coast, because we can, because I can work from wherever I am. And so I guess at the end of the day, in a couple of steps actually, Michael talks a little bit about journaling. And I'm going to double down on that concept, that every day, take some time to write down, what did you do as your own boss here? What did you do to what were the successes that you could find in your relationships? What were some good things that happened there? Find the successes. Ask yourself, what are some good experiences that I had today professionally? What are some good personal experiences? What are some experiences that I created for others, or some of the kind of questions you can ask? And the assets, you can ask yourself, what were my money-making activities today? What did I do to drive traffic? What were the quality of my clicks? What was my cost? What am I doing to scout out new lead sources? What am I doing to continue to refine the ones that I have? And that's your assets category. What am I doing to build there? And then lastly, what did I do that I enjoyed today? What's something lifestyle I did? Now, I've got little ukuleles and guitars and six-string ukuleles and didgeridoos and little kid drums and bongos spread all over my house. That's probably the one thing that makes our house the most messy, is little instruments of every kind. But I love having a musical family. That's a lifestyle to me. I don't mind tripping over a ukulele because it means that my boy was out playing the ukulele. Sure, I need to help him put it back, but still, sure, that's a good problem to have. That's a fantastic problem to have. And boy, what a different mindset that is than the mindset of, just pure anger. That's what I mean by being able to leverage success in your relationships and your lifestyle. Looking at all of these components. Your relationships, your experiences, how they lead to your expertise, your assets, and your lifestyle. And what can you do to take those things? I found that if I think about all of those on a daily, regular basis, when I get that big commission check come in, when that money comes in, it makes it a whole lot easier to take a good chunk of that money and reinvest that immediately back into the business. And not only take it back and invest it back into that business, but and sometimes that means taking some of that money and paying back people who I felt helped me make it along the way. And being able to pay that forward. Being able to have some charity in my heart. Being able to take some money and go take the kids to go do something to go help someone else and get outside of my own life for a while. And get relationships and experiences and assets and a lifestyle of a completely different sort. Right? So I guess that's kind of that's really the kind of the core gist of this, is just really, if I can impress upon you, to leverage success, you can, to journal on a regular basis, document this, because here's what's going to happen. If you do this, if you're willing to sell yourself on just writing and journaling for a few minutes a day every day, what's going to happen is a few things. One, your brain is automatically, naturally going to train itself to find successes and hidden opportunities. What I mean by that is this. I'm sure everyone's experienced that effect of you buy a new car and all of a sudden you start seeing that same car everywhere. Weird, right? Well, it's because the brain knows what's important to us. So if your brain sees something that's important to you, and if it's important to you and it sees it in the world, you may have been passing by that same car every single day, but unless it's important to you, your brain's not going to filter it up and say, hey, dude, check that out. It's going to do what a good friend would do and just let it pass by. If it's not important, it's not going to bring it up. So literally what you're doing by having this leveraging success mindset, this scale up, I can get bigger, I can go bigger. I don't have to be limited by the thinking I was before. You don't have to make the mistake I did and spend 4 years building up towards something that you don't need to. You can move faster, you can move bigger, you can make things happen much faster, bigger, better than you ever had thought before in your old frame of thinking. And all it takes is being willing to write down. It's almost like a gratitude journal, but more like a success journal, right? Write down the good things that are happening in these categories in your relationships, in your experience, in your assets, in your lifestyle on a daily basis. If you just write down something on those, or just some kind of success, your brain will start looking for things automatically. Next thing you know, instead of automatically looking for all the ways that this is going to go wrong, instead of looking for all the ways that this is going to end in failure, or it's not going to work for you this time, or what about this, instead of that and having to, quote unquote, overcome that, your brain is naturally in the mindset of saying, oh, check out that opportunity. We could take that and we could do this with it. That is the difference. And you will dramatically increase the rate at which you grow and you can leverage your success if you're willing to do that on a daily basis, because your brain will do it for you. If you do it for a while, your brain will be trained to start looking for those. The second thing that it's going to do is it's going to do it, see it almost as a favor to your future self. Because I guess I would ask anyone here on the call, at what point in your life do you feel problems just go away? At what point of success, at what point of making money, at what level of money do all of a sudden problems just disappear? And the answer is they don't. They don't. You think Warren Buffett doesn't have bad days? You think Bill Gates doesn't have bad days? You think anyone at any level of wealth or riches don't have problems? Of course they do. Now they are a different quality of problem, mind you, and that's the trick. If you want to leverage success, increase the quality of your problems. Increase that quality on a regular basis, and you'll find just really how much further you can go. And so that's the second thing it's going to do is in the future, when you're faced with problems, when your future self is thinking, dang, I don't know if I can make it. I want to go for this plan. I don't know if we can make this trip to this because we're supposed to be at this person's event. I mean, there's all kinds of challenges, all kinds of things that can come up. But whenever you're faced with that problem and you're feeling stuck, you're feeling like you're in a rut, having that journal, a little 1-line, 2-line, 3-line journal. I'm not talking about sitting down and writing for half hour, 20 minutes. You can just write 2 lines, write 1 line, just to get started, just to get going. But if you have that, I can tell you from personal experience that the fastest way that I've found to pull myself out of a funk, as well as pull my clients, whenever I'm coaching someone, whenever I'm working with clients or just friends or whatnot, the quickest, most guaranteed way to pull yourself out of that problem mindset and back into a problem-solving mindset, out of the employee mindset into the entrepreneur mindset, out of the failure mindset into the leveraging success mindset, is to remember how far you've come. And it's one thing to try to remember it. It's another thing to be able to flip through the pages of your own words, short 1, 2, 3-line words of successes, things that you are experiencing and that you're going through, challenges and successes in your lifestyle, and how you overcame them. Being able to thumb through that experience is so much easier than just trying to remember it, because the brain can stop you from trying to remember. Let's be honest. If you want to stay upset, you want to stay in a problem solving, you want to stay in a funk, you'll stay in a funk. And for some weird reason, most people don't necessarily know this, but my major is actually in behavioral science. Most people, we tend to, once a person is in a funk, it's almost like sleep inertia. There is an inertia to stay in that mode. We can see it in kids when they have little temper tantrums, that they get mad and they want to stay mad, and they hold on to that madness, as long as that anger, as long as they can. And a good parent or guardian is going to find a way to help that kid break through that emotion faster. A good boss is going to help their employees break through that stagnation, that, oh, I don't know if I can do it. I don't know if this is for me. A good boss is going to help someone get past that, get back to work with a good, clear mindset, focusing on the successes. Because again, unless you can tell me that you've already trained your brain specifically to look for positives, to look for successes, to look for opportunities, instead of looking for challenges, problems, and disadvantages, unless you've actively worked towards that over a period of time, your brain is trained right now to look for the negatives, to look for those challenges. So this is an opportunity, this is my invitation to you to do your future self a favor and give your future self that opportunity to not have to try to remember how far you've come, but to be able to flip through some pages of a book and just clearly see how far you've come. I still have some old drawings and some old things that I did when I was, it's still in that semi-homeless phase and working my way out. And those, if I'm ever in a really bad state, I can go look at those. And nothing pulls me out of it faster and back into a problem-solving mode so I can get back to leveraging success. You can't leverage success. You can't think about how you're going to scale up if you're thinking I'm screwed. If you're thinking everything's done for, there's no way I'm going to pull out of this. I don't know how I'm going to make it happen. Geez, Apex is $30,000. That's a lot of money. I don't think I'm ever going to be able to make Apex happen. Well, maybe someday I can make that happen, right? Quit lying to yourself. Start seeing the fact that it can happen a lot faster than you realize. You can get there. If you're not thinking that, then you're thinking in the wrong capacity. And you can work past that. I'm not saying you're wrong if that's where you're at. I'm just saying this is an invitation to change that. The fact that you're here on this call, you're still listening, the fact that you're willing to just take 2 to 3 minutes, a couple times a day perhaps, just to write down some things in a positive light to help you reinforce that so you can identify those successes as they happen in your life so then you can leverage them. If you do that, I would love it if between now and between Las Vegas, when I get the chance to see so many people there, I'm looking forward to the hugs, I'm looking forward to the handshakes, I'm looking forward to the stares and the teary eyes I'm going to get from hearing the students, the clients here that I've worked with in Digital Altitude, and the people from these calls. Once I get there, I have that to look forward to as well. So that's the other way that you can pull yourself out. That's the other reason why doing this on a regular basis will help you, is because if you can see how far you've come in that amount of time, it allows you to start realizing, wow, I can do a lot more. Look at this person. Look at that person. Look at what we are doing together. If you start learning that skill set of looking back to find the successes in your daily life, if you start seeing that money coming in, if you're willing to risk what it takes and you're willing to do what it takes to go make that happen, and you're smart about it, absolutely. You can take that, re-leverage it in a smart way, and you're going to learn every bit along the way how to do it better and better and better and better. And just like John said, we are marketers, which means that we have learned the art and the science of people, of what makes us tick, what makes us jump through hoops. And what's so funny is education and marketing is no difference. There is no difference between what a good teacher does and what a good marketer does. What a good teacher does is it gets students to get outside of their comfort zone and do something that they are not necessarily comfortable with, but they realize if they do it anyways, boy, is it worth the sacrifice. Boy, is it worth that work. Because what you understand afterwards makes all the difference. Like John said too, you only know what you know. Right now, as you're hearing me based off of all your current experiences. After you come to Vegas, after you go through the rest of the Aspire steps, after you get to Rise, and you go through that training, you go through the base training, after you work with a scale-up coach, after you go through these things, you're going to have a completely different perspective because of the experience you gained along the way, the relationships you gained along the way, the money, the assets that we gained along the way. And if you're real careful to how all those things pool into helping you create the lifestyle that you really want to make happen for yourself, then not only will you be the kind of person who would show up in Vegas, even if right now you think it's impossible, but you change your mindset and you find a way to make it happen. And even if it's not this event, just moving forward, just that concept. If you can find a way to make that happen, not only would you show up to that event, but you would show up as the right kind of person at that event. You're going to show up with the right kind of mindset to leverage the success in the room. You're not left just leveraging your success. If you get good at this, you learn to leverage the success of others. And that's the heart of Digital Altitudes. You're leveraging what Michael Force has built. You don't have to invent the product. You don't have to figure out a funnel that works. You don't have to figure out how to filter out the people that aren't a good fit and filter up the people who are. You don't have to figure out that art of follow-up and getting sales reps, getting support reps, getting everyone else to manage all that. And being from someone who's built multiple sales teams, who's built call floors, yeah, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. You have no idea how much work it is on just That component alone, let alone if we're talking about the systems to manage it all, if we're talking about the support staff that has to interact with those sales reps, with everyone there making that happen, let alone when you're having to deal with continuing to evolve and refine the content as Michael Force continues to add value to these programs, the new, and that's what we're seeing here, is we're seeing that. And so that's why I can tell you, you stand at a wonderful opportunity to be able to isolate and focus on the primary skill set of being a marketer, of being a professional inviter. All you have to do is figuratively tell people, I've been through this training. I think it's amazing. I know you'll get a lot out of it. You're not saying go try this training. Why? Well, because I want a commission. You're not saying that. You're saying go check out this business training. Why? Because I've been through it. It's amazing, and I know you'll get a lot out of it. It's only a $1 trial. Go check it out. Well, I have this question about it. Wow, what a really good question. Go sign up for the trial and ask your coach. That's literally all you have to do. Good question. Go ask your coach. Defer to us. Where else in the history of any kind of opportunity do you have the chance to step into an existing operation, existing business like that, and leverage the success of other people? Now, that doesn't mean that it's obviously your business is just going to take off and grow on its own. You still have to do what you need to do, right? You still need to be a marketer. You still need to get people invited to try that trial. You need to get them to do that. And so that's where, so thank heavens, that's all you have to do. Because if you had to do that and everything else, no wonder why so many businesses fail. No wonder. Having to do that and everything else is ridiculous. So giving people a chance to get started with a singular focus, while at the same time providing that mindset, the relationships, the community here, creating amazing events where we can have these experiences, where we can learn from people of expertise, people who've done it on stage, and connect with all the other amazing people there as well. So we can, take our assets, build it, grow, take what we've taken, take what we've earned, and leverage that. Make the most of what we've earned so we can earn more. And why? Because we want that lifestyle. We want it. And if you want it bad enough, you will continue to fight to make it happen. And it can happen a lot sooner if you learn to leverage. I didn't leverage. It took me 4 years. So instead of my middle daughter, she was a couple years old when I quit, when I became a full-time entrepreneur, and about a year or so, 2 years old. I could have been there from the time that she was born. That's 2 more years that I lost with her. 2 years that I lost of not being there for her at those critical hours that I could have had. And so you don't have to do that if you leverage our success. Leverage what's here, leverage what Michael built, leverage all these Black Diamond calls, all the other calls we have throughout the week. If you're not using them, you have no hope of leveraging. You've got to get on them. You've got to take notes. You've got to get real with yourself. You've got to be your own boss. You can do it. You can sell yourself on becoming someone better and making the most of that. I have no doubt about it that you can. It just starts with, think about, I guess I'll end on this, like, how is that possible? Well, it's simple. Sell yourself on something realistic. Sell yourself on doing something small that you can do, and then build on that. Magnify every success. Small wins matter. Because what you're doing is you're getting your brain out of the old funk of thinking, I can't afford that. I can't find a way to get the money for rides. I can't afford the money to get to here. I can get the money for rides, but I can't afford this. You're able to turn that automatic machine off and start asking questions like, how am I going to afford rides? How am I going to get to Vegas? How am I going to get to that next 3-day retreat? How am I going to get there? Instead of asking, I don't know how I'm going to get there. How am I going to make that happen? It's not just asking the question, it's where are you asking it from? And so to leverage success, I guess to kind of recap and synopsize, if you want to leverage success, first you got to spot success. You got to see it. You got to find it. You got to train yourself to find that success, to look for it. Because no one trained us on how to do that as kids. We didn't learn that in school. No college counselor that I ever had told me that. You've got to find that. You've got to spot that success. You've got to do something to make it happen. And when you do, you can absolutely build on it and build on it and build on it till next thing you know, you're looking back and you're realizing, wow, look how far I've come and look at where I'm at. And I can tell you, once you're at apex, once you're on the peak, the view's good. When you climb, that's why we climb. That's why we hike. Because once we get there, we stop, we turn around, we look back, and our minds are blown. And once again, we're reminded how much greater we are than we thought we were. I guess I'll wrap up on that.
Ryan, my goodness. Only on the Black Diamond call, man. Everybody give Ryan some love. If you're joining us live right now on the chat roll, give Ryan some love. Ryan, I don't know if you're on console right now, but
no, I'm not.
Oh, what? You know what? Are you ready to write a book, or you got one in the works, or what?
I do, yeah. As a matter of fact, I've had multiple in the works, and yeah. So yes, the answer is yes. Yes, I have one in the works.
Because I was just thinking, this guy's got to have. You've got a book in you. You've got at least a book in you. That I'm just blown away. I didn't know all those things about your story. Panhandling, playing didgeridoos and stuff. By the way, are you going to bring a didgeridoo to Vegas?
I guarantee if I do, someone out there is going to say, "Well, more like a didgeridoo." Guaranteed, it happens every time. They're fun, but they can be annoying. I know, I understand it, I get it, but yeah, it's not something I typically share too openly. I think some people, sometimes I look back and I have a hard time remembering it myself. But that's the thing is, when all of a sudden, when you walk away, like, I guess if there's one little point I'd pinpoint out here, it's like so many people, like I had some pretty bad addictions. Like I had some really bad addictions. And I had to sell myself on the idea that I wasn't an addict. I know there's a popular program out there, and I'm not going to say what it is, but it's one of the central tenets of it tells you that you're going to be an addict for life. And I think that you could do nothing more to harm someone's reality for themselves, because you need to see yourself as, I don't see myself as an addict, at all. I may have an addictive personality. I may have generally an addictive brain, but what I'm addicted to, that's my choice. I'm addicted to good calls. I'm addicted to good conversations. I'm addicted to my wife and my kids. I'm addicted to personal growth. I'm addicted to being able to journal in my penmanship and learning how to cursive write. Believe it or not, I know it's kind of odd, but it's a big passion of mine over the past couple of months is learning how to cursive again. But that's the thing. So yeah, it's amazing how far you can come, and so yeah, it's not something I typically like to share too openly. But I know this is a good community, and I know there's some people out there who need to hear that story. And I hope it inspires. If I can just inspire one person out there to step into an awareness that, wow, I don't have to be addicted to cigarettes. I don't have to be an addict. I don't have to be, like I was thinking before, I don't have to be a vagabond the rest of my life. That if you can picture yourself being far beyond, even if you can't see yourself at the heights of success, at least see the fact that there's something bigger than what you have now, and sell yourself on just finding out what that could be. Because I had no idea where I would end up. I had no idea where I would end up or how much success I would have. And that was the thing, is I just remained open to it. And that's the beautiful thing about sales and sales psychology is, we can sell ourselves into action. We can sell ourselves on making decisions and doing things that we don't necessarily want to do. And yeah, just like getting up on stage. Like sometimes it's, I actually love public speaking, because I love these kind of calls because they still make me nervous somewhat. But the fact is that nervousness is excitement. That nervousness means I'm alive. That nervousness means that I care. I really genuinely care. And I love the feedback that I get from people after I do calls like this and webinars and private presentations. And I've been very blessed to speak at some amazing events in the past with some amazing top-notch speakers. So shout out to all the gurus out there who have had me on their stage. Very blessed to be there with you guys and to be here with Michael Force and this crew and everything that we're doing.
Yeah, it's great. And of course, it's going to be spectacular to be there with you and everyone else who's listening in right now in Las Vegas in just 18 days. So Why don't we do this? We've run almost an hour already, Ryan, and I know that there are plenty of people that would probably like to at least say hi, maybe ask a question. So I'm going to go ahead and open it up for Q&A if you're feeling up to that.
Sure.
Okay. So here's the thing, guys. We're going to keep it on topic. We're talking about this journey of scaling up success. We're talking about going from where you are to creating the lifestyle that you truly desire. So I'm going to go ahead and open the lines. And if we could share the time and keep it on point, that would be great. If you do have a support issue, definitely hit support, but this would not be the place for support issues. So stand by. Okay, and Q&A session is now engaged. If you'd like to speak with Ryan directly, you can click *6 on your phone or on your console app thingy there and raise your hand, and then we will go ahead and get you in queue. And who would like to be first? We do have a caller. Here we go. Hold on. Okay, wireless caller from 908 area code. You are live.
Yes, hi, I'm Brian Altieri. I just recently joined, and I just heard that guy say about addiction. I was a heroin addict for 18 years, and I have just about a year clean. And I really am interested in earning money on this on the internet, and his I don't know, his story really hit home with me.
Well, thank you. You know, congratulations first off on that time that you spent clean. It's amazing how, you know, and obviously clearly you're leveraging that success, because not only have you accomplished that, but now you're here with us and in a situation to where you can step up and share that with me. So so thank you, and I'll look forward to you know, feel free to keep coming out on our calls and jump on each one of these calls. I'm going to challenge you to hit that journal. You know, let me know if I ever see you at an event or you ever see me speak at an event. You know, come up and let me know. Hey, I was on that call. Hey, here's my journal. Check out my journal. Like, if anybody here if anybody here is impressed with what I say, journal, and then when you come to an event, bring that journal, show it to me. You don't have to make you read it to me, but just show it. Say, hey, look, I did it.
What's your name again?
Ryan Thomas.
Okay, I'm Brian Altieri. All right, thank
Pleasure, Brian.
you.
Fantastic. Thank you, Brian. Good stuff. We'll go to our next caller. Is Mien Udin. Am I saying that correct? Mien, you're live on the air.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Hello, Ryan.
Hi.
Yeah, I was asking a question about your past experience. Like, so a time comes like when you have so much stress on your mind, so much stuff. What do you basically do? Like, you have too much stuff in your mind, and like you're not outburst.
Yeah.
So
That's a good question. So yeah, so the question is, you know, what do you do when you have tons of stress and you have so much on your mind that you just seemingly can't break away? Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. So in those moments, I know, believe it or not, I'm going to defer to Daniel Tiger. My kids' TV show actually taught me this in a way better than I did. It says, when you want to scream or you want to roar, take a deep breath and count to 4. Thank heaven, you know, shout out to Daniel Tiger on PBS for that one. But in all reality, taking a deep breath, I would say taking a deep breath is important, very, very important, because oxygen itself oxygen cools your brain down. So when you're stressed off and you have too much on your mind, literally breathe it away. Because if you think about how you breathe when you're stressed, you start kind of hyperventilating a little bit more. You start speaking faster, and oh my gosh, I don't know what to do. And next thing you know, you're in full-blown panic attack, right? And so the only way to defeat that is to chill out, is to take a moment to just breathe, step away. I'll say one other thing you can do, because that leads to, you know, you can say meditate and ponder, but that can be very difficult. What I would say is, what I found success with my clients and people I've worked with is, believe it or not, is self-massage. Get like a get like a rubber ball, like a bouncy ball, and just rub it between the palms of your hands. You can just take your own hand and give yourself a little hand massage or a temple massage, a scalp massage. Do something to get your hands on your physical body and massaging your skin, doing something like that, even if it's like a light skin massage, just to get circulation going. And the reason being that when we have all this stress, we have all these problems on our head, that we are literally in our head. And so to defeat that and to get back into we need to get back into our bodies. And so to do that, literally just rub your body, rub your legs, give yourself a calf massage, a leg massage, a foot massage. Give yourself a massage for just a few minutes. And because I used to have problems with meditating because I had such nervousness. I had such real anxious nervousness that I had a really hard time meditating at certain periods of my life. And so when I'm in those modes and I found out that physically I have a hard time getting there, that if I massage my body, that I literally bring my awareness to that massage, so I get my body just to chill out a little bit more, and then I can start breathing more relaxed. Then from that place, I can circle back and reinvestigate my problems. So those are two, and I'm going to give you one more tip. So the first tip is to breathe. Second tip is self-massage. Third tip is get outside of your own head and go help someone else. I'm not joking. Go find a Habitat for Humanity project. Go find some good cause project. Go find a neighbor that you can go pull their weeds for. I'm not joking. Make fun of me if you want. But if you are stuck in your own problems, there is something magical that happens when you get out of your own head and you go help someone else. Because when you go help someone else and you return back to your problems, you can do just that. You can return back and you have a new, fresh perspective on your own problems. And there's just something beautiful about being in a service mindset and being in a giving, charitable mindset that does wonders for helping us move past our own negative issues.
Okay.
All right.
So is that helpful?
Thanks for your question,
Yep.
man. We're going to go to our next caller, which is William Simon. You are live on the air.
Yeah, my name's Bill. Thanks for sharing everything. But one thing I got is I'm going to do a separation, custody things, and stuff like that. Plus, I work a lot of hours at my job, but it seems like I can't get ahead, and with financially and everything like it there. And how you can get yourself motivated whenever you got all these stumbling blocks in your way, but like I'm trying to start my own business with you guys, but it's just trying to get that money set up to get things going. How did you get yourself going now?
Sure. Great question. The first thing is going to be to be aware of the fact that money can come from unexpected sources. There are ways of potentially getting credit. There are ways that money just falls in our laps. There are ways that things like that happen. Good luck happens to people. It just does. And so the first thing I would say is be open to that happening. Because if you're not open to that happening, it's probably not going to happen. So that would be the first thing is overcoming the mindset of thinking that it's not going to. As long as the more time you spend thinking that it's not going to happen, the less likely it will. Simple as that. That's just a very real raw mechanic. Now, above and beyond that, what you can do is focus on the things that you can do. There's going to be lots of things that you can do, and I would recommend you to write down just like a list of, don't write down a list of all the things that you can't do. Write down a list of the things that you can potentially do, and what are the things that you can work on. And even if it doesn't feel like it's going to solve this moment's crisis, when there's a cash crunch, being willing to jump onto the archive calls of the daily training session, for example, you may not be able to increase your assets today, but can you at least, going back to that REAL acronym, what are you able to do to increase the quality of your relationships, your experience, and your expertise? So did you learn something new? Did you do something new? Did you take action towards a particular direction? And then of course, lifestyle. So even if you didn't make money for that day, if money's the issue, then look to the other things that you're doing that could potentially lead to that money showing up. And so if you can focus on those to help get yourself into that better mindset, and then and the most important one being expertise. right? The more you learn about being a marketer, the more you learn about traffic, the more you learn about our business, then you're growing that experience and that expertise that can only, and that will lead to assets. Hands down, it just will. It's just a matter of time. Are you willing to put in the time, put in the energy, put in the effort to learn and do? Learn and apply.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. And we'll go to our next caller, which is Benjamin. Benjamin, you're live on the air.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, my name is Clement, and I have low income in high school as well. How can I be successful in life?
How can you be successful in life
Yeah.
without education?
No, I want to know the mainstream of your of the program that we're learning right now.
I would say the most important thing you can do is treat digital altitude like a Harvard education. If you were to treat every one of these lessons that Michael Force has here for you and treat it like a lesson there, and then use that, use the study guide, use the step overview, use the study guide, answer the study guide questions, and then furthermore, when you're done with those subject matters, go to all the traffic training, go to the steps. When you're done with those, then start looking at the subject matter that Michael's talking about and start doing Google searches. Start reading up more on these subjects. If you're still not clear, go back, but treat his coursework like it was college curriculum and really use the study guides. Listen to the audio, download the audio, and have it playing in your car while you're driving. Learn to, and I'll tell you this, I've learned that, I have a pretty decent presentation voice, and that's by choice. I worked very hard to develop my voice. And so if you could learn to just even recite and repeat what Michael Force is teaching in there and just read that out loud, I'm not joking. If you just did that, just that alone over a period of time, you would literally own that content so much that you would begin to find ways to implement and to move forward that you weren't open to before. So just spend more time, spend more time in being willing to look at that material and find ways to apply it to your life, and keep going back to it. Jump on these calls, be a part of the community, and I guess I would say at the end of the day, you have to apply those two key assets of an entrepreneur: hunger, or drive, motivation, if you will, which you have clearly. You're showing up. And then the other one is patience. A smart entrepreneur knows how to be both hungry and patient at the same time, because desperate marketers never win.
Okay, so I don't own any business. I don't run any business. So how can I be a marketer? I'm a marketer.
So how can you be a marketer? Yeah, learn all the different ways of marketing. Even if you don't, because there are ways to market without money. Even if you don't have the income necessary, there are ways of getting earned traffic. There are ways of going out there and building a following, building a blog. Michael even talks about those, right? Build a blog, do these things, and learn that skill. Keep doing the things that you can do that don't cost a lot of money. Otherwise you'll only have what you ever got. You have to try something new, and you have to be willing to either to get that traffic from earning it or buying it. So hope that helps.
That's great stuff, Ryan. We'll go to our next call, but I did just want to say that this whole idea of immersing ourselves in this environment of success and picking up these little bits that we can model from the variety of people who've been where we want to go, that is the greatest accelerator I have ever found. Ryan, I think you and I were talking about this once where somebody asked me, well, John, how did you become a great author, speaker, whatever? And I was like, well, I've read lots of books. I've been to lots of seminars.
Yeah.
Some of it rubs off. I didn't invent these words. They were around before me. So yeah, great advice, Ryan. Thank you for that. Let's go to our next caller, which is someone from 985 area code. Who's that?
Hello.
Yes, who's this?
This is Calvin.
Hey, Calvin. You're live on the air.
Yes, I'm a guy that works real hard, 7 days a week, anywhere from 60 to 90 hours a week. But it seems like I'm not getting anywhere, and I signed up to join your site and all that.
What step are you on in the Aspire program? What step are you on right now?
I got through step 1 and step 2, and then step 3 has told me to get in touch with my coach.
Okay. So I am going to, I wish I could remember earlier on the presentation that I said if you get to step 3, you know, everything will, you know, everything falls into place after that. Step 3 is really where things start coming together. So you know, in this, I'm going to defer to Michael Force. I'm going to take my own advice and say, great question, Calvin. Go do your steps and ask your coach. go do the steps, because Michael Force does a very good job of answering a lot of these questions. And so, yeah, I'm just going to really encourage you to double down and get into those training steps. Get with your coach. You know, book the appointment with your coach. Get on their calendar. And then make sure you call them on time. Don't wait for them to call you and say, oh, they missed the appointment. No, call them. Be proactive. Be on them. Say, hey, I finished this step. Here's what I learned from it. I still have a question about this, you know, and more often than not, we get questions that it's like Michael Force is like a mystic. He can predict which questions people are going to ask, and more often than not, we're able to say, you know, it's a really good question. In this next video, he covers that. You know, so I'm going to say that same thing here, and yeah, go jump into get with your coach, jump into step 3, and let Michael answer that for you.
Okay, because I've had an appointment set up today for 4 o'clock, but no one didn't call.
Yep, call them. That's why. Yep, call them. Be proactive, because we are coaches. It is important for us to follow up with you guys, but it's generally expected for you guys to call us. You know, this is your business. This is your time. That coaching you get with these coaches, it's free. That's free coaching time that you get, and so you really want to make the most of that. So yeah, so book another appointment with them. Get back on their calendar. And get back on the calendar for first thing tomorrow, and then give them a call at appointment time. Let that be a reminder to everyone else here. Call your coaches. Don't wait for us to call you. Call your coach. I love you guys.
Okay.
Awesome stuff. Thank you, Calvin. We'll go to our next caller, which is London Holt from Cleveland. London, you're live on the air.
All right, excellent. Hey there, Ryan. This is London. I'm actually on, I just finished step 5. But, yeah, first off, thank you for being so vulnerable with your unrehearsed presentation, man. I thought that was pretty amazing. I myself, I just graduated college like a few years ago, and this information that I'm learning, like, this is, like, worth even more than my degree. So this is, this is the bee's knees, yo. I like it. But, yeah, but, hey, the question I wanted to ask you, so I actually was taking notes during your spiel, and you kept saying, you know, I sold myself. I just wanted to ask you, like, what does that mean exactly? Does that mean, like, you're going out of your comfort zone, or is there some type of, like, technique or something that you use? How do you sell yourself on doing something? What does that look like for you?
That's a really good question, and it's one of those things that I've asked that question a lot myself, because it's different from moment to moment, right? It's like asking a top sales rep, hey, how did you close that person? And a top sales rep's going to know, well, you know, there's not just one thing that I did. That top sales rep isn't going to say, well, I did this. Because to any close, there's like a series of steps, right? And so it's a really hard thing for me to actually say. I mean, you really hit home on the hardest question that it is for me to really answer that, because it is so unique to the circumstance. But what I can say is that it simply comes down to, at some point, it comes down to being able to, just like a good sales rep, it's applying sales techniques in a personal way. And I'll give you an example. A sales technique is to help a person see 2 different paths. Okay, let's say you stick with us. You know, you want to make this kind of money. You want to do this. Let's suppose you didn't do anything different. Let's suppose you didn't go down this path. What would your life look like? Right? Well, it'd be much the same way it is. It would go downhill, it would go this way. So if you can paint a picture of 2 different ways of being, then you at least give yourself the opportunity to kind of step into that, to make a decision, right? So I'll give the example of helping my wife with the dishes because it's a pertinent one, you know. So I'm laying on the couch, I'm tired, and she's up there doing the dishes, and I really don't feel like helping. I really don't, dude. I'm tired. I'm so tired. I've worked, right? I helped with the kids. I've been out playing soccer. I've been doing this. It's like, and in that moment, I can build out two different realities in my mind. One where I get up and I help, and I can see what that looks like. I can see what the result might be, and then I can play down the other reality where I stay here on the couch. And so if I play out that reality and I see how that goes, then it all of a sudden becomes real to me. Oh, I want to get up and help her. I do want to help. And so it shifts from that I don't have it in me to, wow, I want that. I want to be standing next to her and her to lean over and kiss me on the cheek. I know it sounds corny, whatnot, but like these are things that go into my mind. Like I want to kiss on the cheek. I want to see that smile on her face as I slide up next to her and I start grabbing a dish. That becomes my motivation. I guess it's at the end of the day. I guess it's a game of motivations, just like with any sale.
Oh yeah, that's excellent. Okay, I actually had one comment of something that I thought of when you said that, because I've been reading this book on the law of attraction by Abraham Hicks. Mm-hmm. And there's like this technique in there called clarity through contrast. And basically what you do is you like list the stuff that you don't want, and then you turn it into a positive, because I guess you're mm-hmm. not supposed to say don't. So instead of saying, I don't want to be broke, you would turn that into, like, I want to be, like more wealthy. So would you kind of say like selling yourself is almost like you're taking the contrast of what you don't want and then selling yourself on the actual desire to move in a more positive direction? That's
pretty, yeah, you could say that. That's a great way of putting it. It's just, it really does come a matter of contrasting, because more often than not, what the typical human behavior would be is, I'm tired, and they'll justify it, and they'll sit there. But in the back of their mind, they'll be nagged, and so will they really rest? Will they really enjoy it? Will they really enjoy that time? And so there have been times where, taking that case into effect, that I haven't gotten up to go get the dishes, to help with the dishes. Because in that moment, I recognized that right now, my body needed to rest. I really did just need that, and she was fine. She had it under control. She didn't need the help. No worries, right? And so I don't necessarily want to cast it as a situation of negative versus positive, though it can be. Sometimes it's just really playing out the scenario and just saying, what would it look like if I did this? If I did this, what would that look like? And then from there, you can own the decision, right? Because that's what, to a sales rep, give me a no or give me a yes. Don't give me a maybe. You give me a maybe, it's wishy-washy. I don't know what to do with you. Give me a no or give me a yes, because I can work with a no. I can work with a yes, but I can't work with a maybe.
Great.
So you got to get yourself into that. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, more than
Thank
that.
you very much, man. Yeah, I appreciate it.
Cool.
Fantastic. Thank you, London. And how much time do we have left here with you, Ryan? Are you good?
We could take another. Yeah, we could take another call or two.
Okay, very good. We'll go next to Lenny from Houston. Lenny, you're live on the air.
Hi, Ryan. Listen, I just signed up on yesterday, to be honest with you, and what I'm hearing is, basically I'm a full-time worker, just like most folks, and I got a very busy job, but what I'm hearing is that this sounds like this is going to need a lot of time to do. Is that true?
No, what I'm talking about here is, that's actually the beauty of this, is you don't have to go through everything that I went through, right? It took me a lot of time. It sure did. But that's the beauty of what Michael Force has here, is that you can get up and just plug into something. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. He's taken not only the product development, but he's taken the support, the sales, all the systems. He's taken all of that, the websites, off your plate. So the only thing you need to do, again, is be here to listen to these calls and be, as you're getting value from it, show up and learn and be a part of the community. So that way you're authentically, genuinely excited, and you learn how to, use the training to get the product out there, to be a marketer. And as you learn how to be a marketer, that's, we're all here because we don't like spending a lot of time working. Let's be honest. I'm a marketer because I don't like working, and I never work for more than an hour and a half to 2, maybe 3 hours in a row, because then it starts to seem a whole lot like a job. So I'll only work in small little stints. But that's even just working on the phone. On your guys' side of the equation, those of you who are coming in as just raw members, that's me as a coach internally here and part of the leadership team. But you guys, so I've got a different role here than the average person coming in. I've got a different infrastructure, and I'm just one of those guys that that I've been at this a long time. So no, that's the beautiful thing is all you need to do is listen to your steps. I think you mentioned you just barely came on, so each step is only like 20, 40, maybe 50 minutes long. So each one of those steps is only a little bit of time, but it's power packed with content. So go through it, and go through it as much as you need to really understand it. And then your coaching calls are brief, and as you go through that coaching process, you'll get real clear real fast as you work with your coach on just how easy it is to step in, start driving traffic. And there are ways where literally it's so extremely hands-off that you're basically driving clicks, and you're getting clicks happening onto your links that other people you're signing up people and getting commissions from people you've never talked to, and you probably never will. And so that's the beautiful thing, unlike most other programs, most other systems where you have to be involved in support, you have to be involved in the sale, you have to be involved in those conversations. That's what takes a lot of time. We do that work for you. So yeah, we do a lot of work, and it takes us a lot of time, but we do that so you guys don't have to.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yep.
Very good. Welcome, Lenny. We're glad you're here. We'll see if we can take one or two more. The list keeps growing, Ryan, so we are going to have to cut it off at some point.
No worries.
People want to talk with you. You're a super popular guy. So let's go next to 801 area code. Is that Ed?
Nope, this is Lori.
Hi, Lori. You're live on the air.
I'm so excited that I got through. I was like, please let me be one of the ones. So I just, first, before I ask my question, I just wanted to give a shout out to Ryan, just to kind of make you aware my situation. I just had finished step 6, and I was really reluctant to talk to my husband because he's like the biggest skeptic ever. Like, you look up skeptic in the dictionary and his picture's there. And of course, he did his own little research, and instead of, looking at the things I showed him, he, found all these other things online that were, the naysayers and things like that. So I had a really tough weekend because he's like, hey, it's not a good idea, it's not a good idea. And then I had written my coach about it, and my coach actually reached out to me, which I was shocked. I thought it would just be like, oh, there's a loss, move on to the next person. But my coach is Tony. He's awesome. And he reached out to me, and, he's going to help me kind of show my husband, like, how legitimate this business is. But anyways, your story, like the story that you shared, was so inspiring to me because I felt lost. I'm 26 years old. I have a daughter. I'm actually on my second marriage right now. I've been through a lot in life, like with how young I am, and I feel like, I have felt like such a failure. And initially when I found out and my husband said it wasn't a good idea to, do this, I was like, great, this is another failure. This is another thing that isn't going to work out. And I saw the Black Diamond email from Michael Force. He emailed it to me. And he said, and it was just an invitation, and I was like, you know what, I'm just going to do it. Like, I had just talked to my coach, and I'm like, okay, I'm just going to try this, I'm just going to listen. And when you came on and you shared your story, it was like exactly what I needed to hear. It was exactly what I needed to hear to show me that I am where I'm supposed to be, part of this business. I'm going to leverage my success by just showing my husband, my own proof and my own results. Anyways, sorry, I know that was really long-winded.
No, I love hearing that, though. Thank you.
You're welcome. I just want to let you know you're an inspiration. So to kind of go along with what I had said about my husband being like a kind of big skeptic, my main goal is to just, jump on board and, start small and show him like just proof, from what I'm doing that this is real. But I don't know, I guess like what have you had to deal with like, with the naysayers, on your way to success and building and things like how did you overcome that, to continue to help, to keep you motivated? Like what did you do to overcome those naysayers?
That's a really very, very good question, and thank you for being vulnerable to share, your circumstance with us. And I dealt with this a lot, especially believe it or not, when I was a college counselor. Far more so in this industry. When I was a college counselor, there's a lot of husbands who did not want their wives going to college, especially doing online college. So yeah, I've had a lot of experience coaching others through that as well as myself. And so it's kind of a big topic of how we deal with the criticisms of others. So I'll try to be as concise as I can on answering this, to try to boil it down. I guess the most important thing is to, one, make sure they feel heard. Because if they don't feel you're hearing them, they're just going to keep coming at you until they feel heard. Okay. And so first hear them, really hear them. Because if you don't hear their objections, they're not going away. They're not going to go away. Okay. So first at least make them feel heard. And then you can ask yourself, and then you can move past it from that place. Because once they feel heard, then now you have the right, you've earned the right for them to hear you. Okay. Right? And so in that way, it really is that two-way dialogue of where I heard you, I heard your point of view, now great. I appreciate, here's what I see about your point that I totally agree with, and yeah, here's some points that I don't know myself, and yeah, I might need to look into this. But hear me out. Here's my side. And then go to work on letting them hear you, because they're not going to hear you until they feel heard. That's just a general raw mechanic of human behavior, is that we will not, generally people will not hear you until they feel heard. And so that can be a hard thing, but that would be the most important thing, is to hear him out, and then show him why, make sure he hears you out. And in that case, it's really important for you to have a good argument, right? So you come back to the table with, and to build your argument, going back to my advice tonight, journaling, taking notes from these calls, show him what you're learning. So I think you don't have to go and like, hey, look at my notes kind of thing, but might be kind of awkward. But be prepared, take notes so you have something. And so you can prepare a case for, this is why it's going to work for me.
Awesome.
If you don't
I love
prepare that case. Yeah, cool.
And I'm
sure
good.
He will too.
Awesome, yeah. I'm a big note taker, so I actually never really, thought of it in that way. And of course, I'm always wanting him to hear my side, so it makes sense that I need to allow him to be heard and to feel validated. So thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate your story. I think you're awesome.
Thanks.
For taking the time.
Awesome.
Very
Makes
good.
me blush.
Great question, Lori. As I was listening to your answer, Ryan, I was thinking of Stephen Covey, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. One of those habits is seek first to understand, then to be understood. And that plays out again and again, doesn't it? Just the fact of acknowledging people and hearing what they have to say. And there's a lot, Lori, that goes that you can do with that principle. So hopefully we'll see you in Vegas. And
I am trying to get there. That's my goal.
Well,
you're working on it. Change it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there is no try. You're working on it. Ladies and gentlemen, never tell anybody I'm trying this or I'm trying that. I'm working on this. Right?
Yeah.
Make it real.
Yeah.
All right.
It's a whole 18 days away. A whole 18 days. My goodness, that's eternity. We got people coming from Spain and Australia and exotic places like Salt Lake City, all over the place they're coming from. So
that's me, Salt Lake City.
We'll see you there. Thanks, Lori. And
thank you.
All right. Let's go. We got time for one more.
One more.
Okay,
yeah,
one more, and we're going in order, so it's not like we're cherry picking or anything here. We're just going in order. And last for this evening will be Randy. Randy, you're live on the air.
How you fellas doing this evening?
We're good, Randy. You got the last slide on the Q&A list here, so here you go.
Oh man, the floor is mine. Couple things that I'm struggling with. One, how as a beginner to sell yourself on something that you haven't been successful at yet.
Okay. What are the other questions? Lay them all out. Lay out your questions. I might be able to double stack them here.
Double stack them.
Yeah.
How to be a leader and a coach.
Okay.
You know, I'm a very motivated person, so that's a goal is to help motivate other people and help them see that there's light at the end of the tunnel. So I want to, you know, my goal is to be a coach, but more importantly, I guess, is starting out an online business and seeing the potential in this is how do we sell ourselves without actually having experienced the success as the people who are teaching us.
Sure. That comes back to that answer of hunger versus patience. Being patient enough to to wait for the result, but being hungry enough to start today.
Okay.
Taking action now. And so if you haven't already had that success yet, do something. Again, start small. You know, you don't go from 0 to 60 and asking someone to buy a high-ticket product. You have a funnel. You have a process, right? It's a series of smaller commitments. And so if you find yourself having a hard time making the sell to yourself on a big thing, what's a smaller sale? Sell yourself on researching different traffic strategies. Sell yourself on looking at, you know, blog platforms or figuring out WordPress for a moment or doing this. Sell yourself on finding a way on doing some credit applications and working on your building business credit so you can be prepared to scale up fast. So even though you may not have the money for traffic right now, you can be doing things to be building up business credit so that way you can get some business credit, get some loans to fund your business, right? So there's always things that can be done. They may not produce, you know, the money that's going to be here tomorrow or next week, which is generally what we want. But again, you know, being able to ask what is reasonable, what can I do, what are some things that I can do that at least move that ball forward, what moves it forward, and then as soon as you move that forward, next thing you know, you have a success that you can leverage, and success is addictive. You know, when you start having progress and you start learning this, you start learning that. You know, it's like, have you ever gotten lost in like a Wikipedia hunt, right? Like you start here and like next thing you know, you're like off on like this whole other tangent of Wikipedia, learning about something you never even thought you'd be interested in. Spend that same time and get lost in what it means to be a marketer and get lost in traffic strategies, get lost in mindset strategies to help yourself work on overcoming your doubts and your fears. Help yourself work on some energy management, because I can look back to when I was working a job and I was tired, to these guys, to the gentlemen earlier, gentlemen who were called in, and they're talking about, you know, working a full-time job, and at the end of the day, they're tired. Well, yeah, you might need to work on your energy management. You might need to, believe it or not, work on your diet. And that's the thing, is to look at, so to sell yourself on doing the things you can do to put yourself in a better position for success. You know, don't make it such a big leap to where, oh, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to make money. You know, break it down into the things that you can do.
I started by, you know, getting an Instagram page, which I didn't have, you know, separate Facebook page, and going out exploring, you know, the local areas. You know, like I just got back from a trip to Miami. I went down there and, you know, hung out there, watched the sunrise, and you know, things like that. I'm able to get pictures so I could post on my Instagram, and
cool.
The things that I've done, you know, small trips that you know, things that I have been able to accomplish, you know, with the success that I have had. You know, I mean, I own my own business, but not online. So it's a completely different type of business trying to promote as opposed to what I currently do. You know, So it's just a completely different source that you need to pull from. And, you know, how important are reading these books? you know, the quadrant and the
Cash flow
secret
quadrant.
and all these
4-hour
books,
work week, and yep, all of them.
4-hour work week such, is actually reading that book.
Yeah, those are all extremely, if you haven't already read them, if you haven't read the cash flow quadrant, if you haven't read the 4-hour work week or The Secret, you know, these are some of the key fundamental concepts in our industry. And some people might ask, like, what does that have to do with being a marketer and driving traffic? It has everything to do, because behind every strategy for traffic, like, we can do everything else for you. You got to handle that. But behind every strategy is the person. You know, it's like Michael Force has a perfect recipe here, but a perfect recipe is only as perfect as it's implemented, is only as perfect as it's followed. And so learning how to even just follow and learning how to step in the footsteps of others and not try to think, because I have some business experience, I know what I'm doing, and I'm going to add some milk. I'm going to make it fluffier. I'm going to add an extra egg, right? People tend to do that. Like sometimes people with some business experience are almost the worst because they tend to think they know. Whereas someone who comes in and they have absolutely no knowledge, they'll follow the steps more closely than someone who thinks they know how to cook and they're coming and doing that. So I'm not accusing you of that. I'm just using this opportunity to kind of throw that out to everybody that, yeah, like learning how to just simply be patient enough to listen to the steps, be hungry enough to listen to them, actively listen to them, not just listen to them passively and go, okay, that was cool, but use the study guides. You know, use the tools that are there. You know, Google the words he's talking about. When he's talking about this, Google it, right? What does that even mean? What are people talking about when he's talking about that? Go Google it, right? You know, kind of thing. And so in terms of the first question, how do you get going when you don't have that there before? Doing everything you already are, friend. You're already doing everything you need to do to experiment and to build that expertise, gain that experience in doing that. And so, yeah. And the second thing, in terms of how do you become a coach, how to become a leader, start documenting your successes, start documenting your failures, just start journaling. Really, that's the most important thing you can do at this point, because the more you learn to take events and to describe them in a relatively coherent way on paper, you know, it does something miraculous for yourself. It turns you into a reflective individual, much more so than anything else will. So when someone, and so in that way, if you can learn that art of reflection, you're going to learn more from every coaching conversation you have and every leadership encounter you have. You're never going to be able to fully prepare for every event, every encounter that you need to as a leader or a coach. But what you can absolutely do is make a commitment to, after every session, you know, asking yourself, what could I have done better? How could I have provided more value? What did I do amazing? Right? You know, like a good boss would sit down and recap all of that. You've got to learn to do that with yourself. If you learn to do that with yourself, and then other than that, my last advice is to, as much as the equation is about you and building yourself up, the second biggest key to being a good coach and a good leader is to remember that it's not about you. It has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with them. And you're simply a vehicle. You're simply a tool for them to utilize. The sale always takes place in the buyer's world. It never takes place in the seller's world. You know, the breakthrough never takes place in my world necessarily. It takes place in my client's world. You know, same thing for you. You know, being a leader to your family, being a leader to your leads, right? As you're out there doing Instagram and you're positioning yourself as a leader, yeah, good leaders learn. So become a fierce learner. And dude, I can already tell you've got what it takes.
Trying to learn from the top people, and one of the biggest things I think that I've taken so far is trying to implement myself as to being around people that have more success than I do, as opposed to being the top successor. Because if you're the top successor, you stop learning, and you kind of can't stop learning. Learning from the best is how you become in that elite group of people that are the best. So, you know, Go ahead. I look forward to meeting the top earners and getting in contact with the top earners, being able to get on calls and talk to the top people. There are people, even for all the new people that are listening now, these are the people that have paved the way for us newcomers. So, it's extremely important to listen to what you guys tell us and, not take it for granted that it's just a phone call. I mean, it's a very valuable lesson that we're all here to learn. So, I mean, I appreciate the fact, that we get to call in and things and ask people questions, and, it helps. It helps. I mean, it's helped me get farther in my business from the day that I started to where I'm at now. I mean, I'm trying to upgrade to the Ascend model. I'm hoping to do that within the next couple of weeks.
Cool.
And looking forward to get in touch with the traffic coach to completely, I'm hoping that opens up a lot more doors for me, as paving the road. So
That's what we're here for. That's what we're here for. You guys can absolutely lean on us and lean on what Michael's built here for us in the community, and that's what it's all about. And I guess I love hearing these testimonials. I'm going to go ahead and throw out, if you have a testimonial, again, I'm not support staff, so if you have a question, I can't help you. But if you have a testimonial and something you'd like to share with me that you got from tonight, send me a message to rthomas@digitalaltitude.co. That's RTHOMAS at digitalaltitude.co. Again, I can't answer any questions or do any support, anything like that, but if you just have a quick testimonial, something you'd like to write down to say, hey, I got this out of it, I love hearing those. That's the best way for me to wake up, is I love going back through not only reading the things that I've written in my journal, but the things that my clients and the people that I've been able to inspire, the things that they've written back to what I've given them. Nothing is more impactful to me. So thank you all for, you guys who made it on this long and stayed on with us. I feel honored to be here. Thank you everyone so much.
All right, Ryan, I just wrapped up the Q&A session. Thank you for everybody who participated, and sorry we couldn't get to everybody tonight. Ryan, you're just a popular guy, and you know what, we're going to be there in Las Vegas, and I know Michael talks about hanging out at the, I guess there's a bar, right, where people can get refreshments and stuff. Well, I think you and I, do you drink coffee?
I drink yerba mate. It's an herbal coffee.
Oh, okay. Well, I think
it's a whole other story.
Yeah. Okay. I think you're going to be able to find me around the Starbucks, assuming there is one in at the event in Vegas. Because, like you, I don't partake of the fruit of the vine or whatever. But yeah, let's definitely get together, everybody, in Vegas in just 18 days, and buy Ryan an herbal coffee. If you appreciate it,
they have them there
today.
Yeah. I'll take it. I'll absolutely take an herbal coffee.
There you go. Since I can't buy you a beer, I'm going to buy you an herbal coffee. So very good. Ryan, thanks again. We'll see everybody on the wake-up call in the morning. And, of course, we'll hear you, Ryan, on our Inside Digital Altitude calls as well. Everybody, make it a great night, and we'll see you real soon. Bye for now.